Hi, I'm the Lockpicking Cuber. In this video I'm going to look at something that is neither a lock nor a cube, but it is very much a puzzle, which is what this channel is really about. And it's not just any puzzle. Cain's Jawbone, which was first published in 1934, has a pretty good case for claiming to be the hardest puzzle, or at least the hardest word puzzle ever produced. I know people say that all the time, but in this case I think it might be true. It's only been solved 4 times, twice in 1935, soon after it was first published, and then twice more in recent years. Cain's Jawbone was originally written by Edward Powys Mathers using his pseudonym Torquemada. Torquemada was the Observer's crossword setter and is considered to be the inventor of the cryptic crossword, having created the first crossword to feature only cryptic clues, which was published in 1925 in the Saturday Westminster Gazette. Cain's Jawbone was published in 1934 as part of the Torquemada puzzle book, described at the time as a miscellany of original crosswords, acrostics, anagrams, verbal pastimes and problems, etc., etc. Sadly, in 1939, Torquemada died, aged just 47. Actually, come to think of it, that's how old I am. Huh. Anyway, at the time of publication, a prize of £15 was offered to the first person to solve Cain's Jawbone. And in 1935, 2 people, Mr. Saxon Sidney Turner and Mr. W.S. Kennedy, solved it, and each won £25. I love the formality of those names. After that, the puzzle was considered lost until a copy of the Torquemada puzzle book was donated to Shandy Hall in 2018. Shandy Hall is a museum dedicated to Laurence Sterne, the author of The Life and Opinions of Tristram Shandy, Gentleman. Sterne's novels are famously convoluted and cryptic, so it makes sense that Shandy Hall should be sent Cain's Jawbone. And the curator, Patrick Wildgust, became the 3rd person in history to solve it. In 2019, he worked with a publisher, Unbound, and my favourite cartoonist, Tom Gould, whose work you can see on the cover here, to publish Cain's Jawbone with a new prize of £1,000, which is apparently what the original prize of £15 would have been worth today. Wildgust doesn't say much about how he solved it, and he certainly isn't revealing the solution. Here's what he said. Tracking down the correct solution for Cain's Jawbone was a risky venture, and one peppered with possible pitfalls. I can say no more on the subject, but eventually I was satisfied we were in possession of the correct solution. My hopes were that people who enjoyed Tristram Shandy might enjoy a game of glorious disorder, tortuous puns and spoonerisms. Okay, enough of the history. What is this puzzle? Well, it's a book, essentially, in 100 pages. But the pages are out of order. It comes with this little guidebook with an introduction, an explanation of the prize and a way to enter, a note on the author, and some people who helped fund the publication. And then we get 100 pages, each on a separate card, and they come in an order, which is numerical according to the page numbers, but these numbers are the incorrect order. The aim of the puzzle is to place the pages into their correct order, and then by reading the book you have to figure out who the murderer is and which 6 people were murdered. So yes, it's a murder mystery. This all sounds pretty straightforward, right? But no. If you just look at some of the text, you can tell Torquemada was into cryptic crosswords. So Roland's father, Sir Weedon, once saw Henry taking the part of Le Cirque and mixed him up with Le Cirque d'Hiver. Instead of really explaining, she points me gaily to a little boy about, she says, to tumble into the sea. I turn my head and see no little boy. Perhaps he has already tumbled in. In the snowy cumulus above the orange there seems to be now a hole. She tells me to mash all with a spoon. If she had said a mashy, but she is so beautiful, can I suspect her? Yeah, so it's all full of these very cryptic references. After it was republished recently, 12 people have so far submitted proposed solutions, but only one of them so far has got it right, and that's comedian and writer John Finnemore. Oh, and by the way, he also compiles cryptic crosswords, of course. And this is what he said about it. He said, "The first time I had a look at it, I quickly thought, oh, this is just way beyond me. The only way I'd even have a shot at it is if I were, for some bizarre reason, trapped in my own home for months on end with nowhere to go and no one to see. Unfortunately, the universe heard me." And in case you hadn't guessed, he's referring there to the COVID-19 pandemic. He went on to say, "It took me about 4 months, not continuously, but I had it spread out on the spare bed, and every so often I'd potter in, stare at it till my forehead bled, spend an hour online researching the history of Shrewsbury Prison or something, swap 3 cards, move one back and potter off again. How anyone solved it before the internet, I cannot begin to imagine." So I think that's a pretty nice summary of why this is such a difficult puzzle. I was given it for Christmas last year, and I've occasionally pulled the pages out looking for clues, but I think without the kind of dedication that John Finnemore and Patrick Wildgust shows, it's just not possible for anybody to solve this. I did find some interesting repeating patterns, and one thing I noticed is a bunch of pages where one page ends with part of a verse, next page seems to start a somewhat matching verse, so here's one that might work together, I don't know. I found a bunch of other examples of these, and a few other sort of repeated references to names and places and that kind of thing, but otherwise I've really made no progress with it at all. I've got to say I'm surprised there hasn't been more discussion about Cain's Jawbone online. I found just one YouTube video about it and a couple of short Reddit threads, but no sign of a thriving community dedicated to solving it, which is honestly what I expected to find. I guess maybe people prefer to solve this kind of thing solo. In any case, if you're into crosswords and puzzles and murder mysteries, then I really do recommend getting hold of a copy of Cain's Jawbone, a novel problem. Who knows, maybe you'll be the 5th person to solve it. One more thing, you might be wondering, why is it called Cain's Jawbone? So Cain's Jawbone is a quote from Shakespeare's most famous play, Hamlet, which goes like this. The skull had a tongue in it and could sing once, how the knave jowls it to the ground as if it were Cain's jawbone that did the first murder. It might be the pate of a politician which this ass now offices, one that would circumvent God, might it not? This, in turn, is a reference to the Bible. Cain, as you may remember, killed his brother Abel in Genesis, and according to a comment written on a copy of the Bible around the 7th century, Cain used the jawbone of an ass, or later people thought it might have been a camel, to commit the murder. So yeah, Cain's Jawbone is perhaps a fitting title for a murder mystery like this one. That's it. If you've enjoyed the video and you want to see more like it, please do hit the subscribe button and maybe tell your friends about this channel. And as always, thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video. Bye.